Hi, my name is Dreya. I am the founder of Urban Trans Women. Um, Urban Trans Women is my nonprofit organization that I founded. To the goal of it was or is to provide very specific resources to the trans community with emphasis on trans women of color. So the goal is to be able to provide resources and access in the areas of employment, housing, and healthcare. So I use my story to basically tell the importance of why those things are needed, and also speak about the barriers of those particular things that seem simple and are achievable by most, but unfortunately, there are barriers that come with that for trans women and especially trans women of color. Um, I'll start by telling my story. I basically, I'm a survivor of sex abuse, sex addiction, drug abuse. I worked in the sex industry um, professionally. As weird as that may sound, but yeah. And also on a personal level. But either way, I did those things to survive. And I'm also HIV positive, but I've been non-detectable for way over 10 years now. Um, the point of this particular video is to speak about my interaction with law enforcement. My story is obviously different from everyone else's. My interactions are have been different, and if I'm to be honest, I've had more positive interactions than I have had negative. And I don't know if that's due because of presentation or just because I've just been lucky and blessed to be able to um, have the interactions I've had. So I don't want to kind of use so much video that I'm really on this phone. So I'll tell one particular story um, in regards to my interaction with law enforcement. When I was working in the sex industry, I took a bad call one night, and I went against all of my instincts in regards to is that should I take the call, should I not take the call. Anyway, um, I did take the call, and I remember getting to the hotel and just still feeling uneasy about things. And gentleman rushed past me in the hallway on the way to see my client, which just so happened he was an undercover police officer. But I remember when I was with my client and the doors were kicked in, I literally in the moment had to decide, is this a hate crime or am I being busted? So, I mean, once all the, guns and everything drawn on me. So once I saw the guns drawn on me and the badges, I'm like, okay, I'm being busted. Um, my life changed immediately because prior to that, I was married. My ex husband was an engineer. I was running a modeling agency. But unfortunately, I became a fantasy within my own marriage. So it triggered a lot of things and it sent me back into survival mode. So I back up to explain to you that a lot of trans women, the majority, if not all, that you see that are in the sex industry or are using sex to survive, we're all a victim of circumstance, and it's our go-to because it's easy, and it's society has made it easy because we're preyed upon for that. So we have learned to use it to our advantage. I'm not saying it is the right way to go. I'm not saying it's a safe way to go because obviously there's a lot of women that have lost their lives to it, and I'm thankful that I'm still here to be able to tell my story. So once I was arrested, the police took me into the other room while they continued to do this thing and arrest other people. Believe it or not, the police were actually cordial to me. I remember sitting there in the room with everyone else, and the handcuffs were very tight. And I was like, kind of couldn't breathe, so part of it was panic, I'm sure. But anyway, I asked the officer if he could please loosen up my handcuffs, and he actually did. And A couple of them were asking me questions about, like how did I get here? It doesn't seem like I belong here, and they actually were asking me about my story. But they allowed me to educate them from being processed. From they put me in a paddy wagon by myself, very closed in space. I'll never forget it because I'm claustrophobic, but I had to like meditate to get myself through and to till we got to the police station. And once I was booked, I was put into a cell by myself. And I believe one of the officers I looked out that was assisting me was a female, and I believe she may have been a lesbian. But I, whenever I heard the police officers address me in the wrong way, I correct them. But I did it in a respectful manner. And it made it hard for them to treat me. I'm sure they may have wanted to treat me bad. It's something they're not familiar with. I don't know. But I think the way I communicated in my presentation throughout the whole process allowed me to educate the law enforcement with, my situation. And once I got in front of the judge, I explained to the judge, I was like, he was like, what happened? And I literally said, just a victim of circumstance. And I was put on a year unsupervised probation. And that morning, when I walked out of jail, my phone went off because there was a client that was flying in to see me, and I literally threw my phone away, and that was the end of my life in the sex industry. And backing up, as you know, when you are arrested for being in the sex industry, you have to go get tested. And I kind of knew this was the universe telling me you're probably HIV positive. So I did get tested. I told my ex-husband he needed to get tested. He was fine. But I literally had to claim indigent to get the assistance that I need and put together a healthcare team. So this is all like full circle. So I had to, as a trans woman of color, not only advocating for myself with law enforcement, but also advocating for myself and putting together a medical team to make sure that I can live my life. And I remember when I went to get my test done, the nurse that was already counselor, before he pushed the button, he was mentioning to me, he's like, you look very strong. I'm sure there's nothing you can't handle. And I kind of knew where he was going. And, when he pushed the button and said I was positive, I wasn't able to react the way I wished I would have, which was panic or my life is over. I felt like my life was not over. And I've never been defined by my circumstances. I've always moved forward if the universe allows me to. But anyway, that's my brief story and my interaction with law enforcement. I have others, but I think this one was important to tell because the point of it is if you allow us to educate you and if you walk into a situation with someone who is trans or trans woman of color with an open mind and non-judgment, regardless of how you feel, it will allow us to feel safer. And also if you are allies for us and you educate your fellow officers about how to treat us and interact with us, it will help make the environment for us safer. It will help us feel safer reaching out. Um, as I said, I can go into more detail, but I don't want to use there's only so much video I'm going to be able to upload here. I just wanted to give you guys a little insight to my story, and my hope is someday to be able to tell my story in more detail in person. All right, thank you, and I hope everyone continues to make it a great day. Bye bye.